की आप सभी उपस्थित भक्तजनों की जय जयकार हो। हरे कृष्ण। Is the sound good at the back? No? Song शुरू करते हैं मंगलाचरण से, विस्तार मंगलाचरण। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णाय भूते श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशकारिणे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे masters. Now we start with Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we are going ahead with Ram Bhajan. Raja Patit Pavan Raghupathi Ram Raam bhajan
Qui nous peut observer? Devant nous, qui m'a une photo qui m'a tasé, il mettait l'ordi. La Krishna. Oui. Ja. Ja.
understand the truth, the tattva behind Lord Shiva. We are Krishna devotees, right? Hare Krishna. Let's say we have lots of respect for all the devotees. There's a very bad propaganda outside that Hare Krishna don't worship others. No, we do worship. See, people are going to always criticize and say so many things. So for us, our tirth sthan is Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Because in Vrindavan, Bhagavan Sri Krishna does his pastimes, leelas. But to be able to enter Dham, Vrindavan Dham, you need to seek the permission of Lord Shiva. Because Lord Shiva is the protector of Sri Vrindavan. So you go in the 4 different directions, you're going to see Lord Shiva being worshipped in different forms. So once you go to Vrindavan, there you're going to see Lord Shiva in the form of Gopishwar Mahadev. Gopishwar Mahadev ki Om Namah Shivaya. Specifically, if you go to Roy Bazaar. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? You've been to Roy Bazaar sometimes? How come you've been to Vrindavan without going to Roy Bazaar? Roy Bazaar. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. Now next we go to Kamvan. In Kamvan, you are going to find Shiva in the form of Kameshwar. Kameshwar. In Kamvan, Kameshwar. Kameshwarai Shiva Kameshwarai Har Har Bole Namah Vrindavan you have Gopishwar Mahadev. In Kamvan you have Kameshwar Mahadev. Now we take you to Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Shri Krishna. So in Mathura, Lord Shiva is called Bhuteshwara. Bhuteshwarai Shiva Bhuteshwarai Har Har Bhole Namah Shivaya. Gopishwar Mahadev, we have been to Kameshwar Mahadev, and we have been to Mathura, Bhuteshwar Mahadev. Now if you go to Govardhan, Bhagavan Sri Krishna plays his Leela. He lives Govardhan hill. So in Govardhan, you have Chakreshwar Mahadev. Chakreshwarai Chakreshwarai Har Har Bhole Namah ready now to enter Vrindavan. You took permission of Lord Shiva, right? Otherwise, there is no permission. You stay out. So to enter Vrindavan, what else do we need? Who is the queen of Vrindavan? Srimati Radharani. So if we don't have the mercy of Srimati Radharani, first is permission to get in. Now after that there is the mercy of Srimati Radharani. Kripa. If there is no Kripa, then you might be there entering, but then from there you have to make a U-turn and come back. So we have to seek the blessings of Srimati Radharani. Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. Radharani ki jai, Maharani ki jai. Bolo barsane wali ki jai, jai jai. Radharani ki jai. After singing the blessings of Srimati Radharani, right? So now we have to look for Krishna. Where is Krishna? Mataji, boliye. Where is Krishna? So now we're going to look for Krishna. Okay? And Radharani is going to look for Krishna for us. We can't find Krishna number one. Okay? She's going to help us in finding Krishna. Okay? Radha ढूंढ रही इसमें मेरा जान Radha ढूंढ रही इसमें मेरा Radharani is asking the book, are they seeing Krishna? So we have darshan of several different locations in Vrindavan. So the gopis are telling to Srimati Radharani Shamni Radharani So have you seen Krishna? Radharani has taken us to all these places and she has been looking for Krishna, right? कहाँ गए हम लोग? बताइए थोड़ा सा. Where have you been? We took you to Gokul, right? Then Vrindavan, Mathura, Jatipura, Mahavan, Madhuvan, right? So this is all Harinam Sankirtan, where you have all the leelas of Bhagavan happening at the same time. There's no Nam Sankirtan, where you have only the names, holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna. What is happening? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So now the question is, where is Krishna? Are we ready to welcome Krishna in our life? He's not far away. He's very, very close. Suresh, where's Krishna? Yes, in our heart. But unluckily we are so much covered with Maya, Shakti. Maya is there, Maya Shakti. That we can't understand that Bhagavan Shri Krishna is not far away, he's in our heart. He confirms in Bhagavad Gita. Where is Bhagavan Shri Krishna? Sarvaschaham Hriki Sane Vishnu. I am in everyone's heart. In your heart also, okay? So let's welcome Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Suswagatam Krishna Sharanagatam Krishna Suswagatam Krishna Sharanagatam Krishna Hare Krishna. Déjà level 10. Time is flying. We can't continue the kirtan in it. Anyone feeling sleepy? Sure. Anyone? Boys? Your good name, sir?
Kian.
Akian? Kian? Kian, right?
Kushil. Kushil.
Kushil.
Kushil and Kian.
Kushil
Kushil and Kian.
and Kian. Okay, good. Also Naeck family? No.
My mom is nine.
Yeah, mom is Naeck. Okay. So now you're with which family now?
Chapter family. My dad is here.
Yeah. No. So now you're in Chatwa family.
Yes.
No. I mean, you got married to.
Uh, I am back to the Chatham family, if you understand what I
Okay, Hare Krishna.
mean.
I apologize. Sorry. So we pray for everyone. Okay. See, life is always a struggle, right? Sometimes we learn it very easily, and sometimes we have to learn it the hard way or the harsh way. Krishna makes us realize these things. So the question is, are we really happy in this world? Is there happiness in this world? There's happiness. Happiness is only there when there is Hari Kirtana. Then only you are happy. Otherwise, you're always under distress. So, we'll go for some Gita part, right? So, before we start our Katha, we usually sing Jai Radha Madhav Kunj Vihari. आप लोग गा सकते हैं साथ में। जय राधा माधव जय जय राधा जय गोपी जगवल्लभा जय गोपी जगवल्लभा Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hari. Holy Shri Radha Golokananda Bhagwan ki. Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki. उमापति शंकर भोलेनाथ की युद्धमय नाम संकीर्तन की जगद्गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की आप सभी उपस्थित भक्तजनों की जय जयकार हो हरे कृष्ण ओके हरि बोल So Mataji, we're going to explain in English only. Boys, you okay? So far so good? Not tired? You get used to that. Just like you sit, for a long time watching football, you like to watch, no? Why to watch? You can sit maybe for 2 hours, 3 hours, right? Yeah. PlayStation you play? You can play whole night, right? So similarly, you should be also like eagerly participating in satsang. You learned a bit of Creole? Comment tu t'appelles? Okay, this is not Creole, this is French. Comment t'appelles? Okay, good. Good boy. So you understand, I think you understand, right? Good. Hindi, you need to learn, it's important that you learn. Give some time, because our scriptures are in not Hindi, but they are in Sanskrit. You know that? You learned a bit of Sanskrit? No? What about you? No? You have so many, free online courses ongoing in Sanskrit. Try to join. Maybe as a hobby. And then that is doing something very good to yourself. And doing justice to your family also. Right? So Bhagavad Gita is not just an ordinary book that we just open and read at random like fiction and all that. That's not Mills and Boone. Or another fiction, right? Harry Potter? You read Harry Potter? Right? Good. Now, do you have Bhagavad Gita at home? Great. You have it now? Right now? Where is it? You have it? Go bring. Go fast. Bring it. I'm waiting for you. Come on. In the meantime, we'll do a very important exercise. You know where it is? You brought it, huh? It's here in this house? No. Oh, I thought it's there. Anyway. But Mataji, you don't have Bhagavad Gita? Small one? Where is it? Familiar? Okay, pose questions. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita, as mentioned several times, this is the manual for human beings. Whenever you buy any gadget, right? The PlayStation, when you bought it, you got a book, something like that, right? A manual, right? How to do all the installations. You can't just go and do whatever you want, right? You have to follow instructions, right? Mobile phone, everything you have, right? The manual. How to use. So similarly, Bhagavad Gita is the manual of human life. How to live this life as a human being. We are living this life, right? But are we living this life as a human being? As a Manav? The word Manav has come from the word Manu, the progenitor. We are all descendants of Manu Maharaj. The religions they call him as Adam? Right? The same personality actually, right? The same personality, different religions, you can't escape. Everyone is trying to, customize. But they're all following the same religion. Because the entire world is a family. Time, place and circumstance. Right? Yeah? In English we call the sun, right? En français c'est How do you call sun in French?
Soleil.
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 Soleil, right? In Hindi, you say Surya. And sometimes in Sanskrit you say Bhaskar. The same, right? So in English, God. En français, Dieu. In Hindi or in Sanskrit, Bhagavan. Same personality. But do we really realize that there's only one sun? There's only one God? We don't realize. We just say, but we don't realize. We have to realize. So that's what Bhagavad Gita helps us in realizing. Who is God? Bhagwan kaun hai? Qui est Dieu? Mon Dieu là qui s'en a ça. So many times in Sanatana Dharma there are lots of questions. And if you don't get the, like you say, perfect questions and perfect answers, then you're gone. Why so many divinity in Sanatana Dharma? Mataji, if it would have been possible for you, would have put all the Devta Devis here, right? Can we? We can't. But they are there. They're currently present here. We don't have one, we don't have two, we don't have three. We have 33 koti. 330 million. Is that here? You can count? Fingers, you can't, so. So some misinterpret, some interpret, some say no, 33 koti means only 33, some say no, koti means 1,000. But koti means 10 million. Crore. 1 crore is 10 million. So 10 means 33 koti. Or crore, 330 million. Now it depends how you understand it. So how we have learned it through our spiritual master. You need a guru to teach you all these knowledge, gyan, right? You've been to school, still going to school, right? Who is there in school? Only friends?
Teachers.
Yeah, you have teachers, right? Why do we need teachers? You could learn online so many things. Why do you need teacher? You had online classes during COVID, right? How much you learned? Did you really learn? I'm also in the teaching profession. We give online lectures till today in university. Students hardly learn. Why? Because there is no personal touch. That interaction is not there. So, irrespective of so many, technology advancement and everything, but you can't find a substitute for the teacher. And when it comes to spiritual life, also you need a teacher. Make sense? So many times we have, self-acclaim, self-proclaim gurus, they just come like that. But Krishna mentions, no, a guru should come in a disciplic succession. Before that person becomes a guru, he or she should have been a disciple of some other guru. That's why there is a succession. This is what we call it the Guru Shishya Parampara. Right? From which university do you want to graduate from, sir? You plan already?
Oxford.
Oxford, yeah. Why? Because, number one, please.
Because it's very well known.
Very well known, right. You see how the reasoning, right? So it means the young generation, they're using the grey matter, right? Good, it's a good choice, right? Should the best choice. Whether to have admission to Oxford, you know what is it? What are the requirements?
Hard work.
Yes. Why not smart work? Does smart work exist?
Yeah.
But will that help you to get into Oxford?
Yeah.
Are you sure? No, you need the hard work. The hard work is required. You'll require. Some places you can apply to, and act smart. But there's always someone who is smarter than you. Cutthroat competition, right? So why we're taking this example? Because this is just like material life. We have to send our children to the best university. We want to secure their future, right? But let's say you don't get admission in Oxford. You have a second choice. You can voice out.
Manchester.
Okay. So as you see, there is, the list is in order of priority, right? So similarly, if you graduate from Oxford, all the doors are open for you in all different countries or whatever, right? Because of the goodwill of the university, right? Famous, right? Well recognized. So similarly, if someone is coming to give you spiritual knowledge, first of all, you have to ask yourself the question, is this person qualified to give me spiritual knowledge? Right? I don't know me. So I can just give you whatever, teach you anything and just go and just accept. So you should know from whom you're learning. And this is what Bhagavan Shri Krishna is teaching in Bhagavad Gita. Okay? That we need to have a spiritual master coming from a disciplic succession. Just like Oxford is well known. So similarly here we have this disciplic succession which is also well known. So we are from, you see, our identity, the tilak. Who wears the tilak? The Hare Rama, Hare Krishnas, right? The Hare Krishnas. Now the Hare Krishnas, we have our succession, the Guru Shishya Parampara, starting from Brahmaji. Brahma. You know Brahma, the creator? Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, right? Now you see there, on the first, or the extreme left, we have the photo of whom? Venkateshwar, Lok Venkateshwar. If you go to South India, you see their tilak is not like this, the way we are wearing it here. They have it very, it's a large one. It covers the entire forehead. So they belong to the Shri Sampradaya. We call them Shri Vaishnavas. And the succession comes from Mother Lakshmi, Lakshmi Mata. Is that okay so far? Maybe you know about these things? You have heard of that? You need to show some interest, then only you will learn. Otherwise, it's just going to be like this. So just like you're giving much time to your education, right? That is just material, okay? But then you also have to give time for your spiritual development. You have to learn all this. Okay? So we have several nowadays, associations or groups or sects, you can call them. But from there they are coming from, you should know. Otherwise, that's what we call bona fide. You know what the meaning of bona fide? What do you mean by bona fide? Mataji, you heard of this term, bona fide? Yeah, so what is the meaning of bona fide? It's something which is genuine, right? Genuine, or genuine, what do you call it? It's not bogus. The opposite of bona fide is bogus. So sometimes you come across bona fide gurus, sometimes you come across bogus gurus. So you have to decide now to whom you will go. Okay? So in brief, Bhagavad Gita, okay, This was a dialogue between whom? Bhagavan Shri Krishna and Arjun. And Arjun was a Kshatriya, a soldier, on the battlefield. Just imagine, on the battlefield, you are going to fight now. If you are victorious, you survive, else you die. So Lord Shri Krishna gave these teachings about Gita to Arjun in only 45 minutes. In only 45 minutes. And there are people who are struggling an entire lifetime. They can't understand what is Bhagavad Gita. Why? Should ask them the reason why behind that. In 45 minutes, Arjun was enlightened. He knew what is Bhagavad Gita. Because he followed the instructions of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He was not envious of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. He was Krishna's friend. That's what Krishna himself told. Since you are my friend, and since you are my devotee, and since you have, we were singing Sharanagatam Krishna. Since you surrendered unto me, you accepted the position as a disciple, and you accepted me as your guru. That's why you understood the message of Bhagavad Gita. On the battlefield, what is the soldier supposed to be doing? Simple logical question. To fight, right? Arjun was running away. He said, I don't want to fight. Why? Because he had to fight with whom, you know? His own people, his own family, his own guru, the person who taught him the art of archery. He had to fight against that person. So how many of us are ready to do that? Because actually you have to understand, it's not between, these relationships. Krishna had put it clear. It is the fight of dharma against adharma. Means again, religion against irreligion. That's what Lord Shri Krishna gave these teachings to Arjuna. Sometimes we become sentimental. Okay? And you have a quota. You are supposed to be getting that. But you see, most of the time, not far away. Even family members create problems. And this is prominent in our... not far away, right? Very close, just like Krishna is very close. Okay? Chaturji, Barabar, what are you saying? Family is not fighting over what? Wealth, heritage. I need more, I need this, I need that. Right? So Krishna says, yes, you need to fight for your rights. Don't run away from the situation. If you know you deserve that, so go and fight for it. Okay, sir? If you deserve that admission in Oxford, so go and fight for it. I'm putting in front of you teachings of Bhagavad Gita so that you reach that goal, okay? And the fight is not going to be easy. Because you don't know what you're going to face in life. So many tribulations are going to be there. Everyone. So Krishna has given this knowledge, as I told you, in 18 chapters. How much time mentioned? 45 minutes. 18 chapters. In 700 texts. How many? 700. We can't explain all the 700 to you. We can take few. Okay, we just put some pearls of wisdom in front of you to make you think. Okay? Okay, Gyan? Good? So question comes to you now. Your elder brother already gave so many. Right? He's your elder, right? Alright? How old are you?
14.
14. And you?
13.
13. Okay. Not much difference.
be 15, isn't it?
He'll be 15, okay. So, gap of 2 years?
He's going to hit 15 in 2 months.
Okay, good.
1 month.
1 month. Okay. Now, Kian, when you were born, and now when you look at yourself in the mirror, are you the same?
No.
Why?
I've grown.
You say, I have grown. Who has grown? The body has grown?
Yeah.
Sure. The body has grown, yes. So you should say, my body has grown. Because this is what Krishna is going to teach you, that you're not this body. Krishna teaches us that we are the soul inside this body. Maybe you don't realize it now. Have you ever gone to someone's funeral?
No.
Never been? Okay. Okay, maybe the question is very simple. Why do people die? And when they die, what is the difference between the body? What is the difference between the living body and the dead body? Simple question.
So the living body, the heart is pumping, the brain is working.
Sorry.
Wait, Mr. Chitra, wait. He's learning. Let him.
The blood is flowing, and then the dead body, the heart is pumping. There's no blood circulating.
Okay. So this is, the scientific way of explaining. But the spiritual way of explaining is that in the living body, you have a soul. In the dead body, the soul has left the body. You got that?
Yeah.
The soul is no more there. Just like your mom is sitting there, right? Can you just pinch him? Just pinch him. A bit hard. Come on, do that. Do it.
Me.
No, mom is going to beat you. Come on. Yeah. So you're not feeling anything. But just to tell you, when you pinch a living body, you have the feeling. When you pinch a dead body, will it react? No. Why? Because that energy that was there inside, and you call the soul, the Atma, Lam, has left the body. Now where does it go? So this is where Bhagavan Shri Krishna starts explaining about the science of karma. Okay? So what do we see in this world? Let's observe a bit. Around us we observe. What do we see here? See, you're the new generation, that's why I'm giving much time to you. Others, they know already. And we have been taught something very important. Teach to the youngsters. They can change. Forget the oldies. They don't want to change. They're very stubborn. Because they have developed their own philosophies. Which is not good actually. Okay? But this is just a general remark. Huh? Because sometimes, old people say, hey, what is he saying? I know so much. But they know so much, but then they don't want to apply in life. Application is more important than knowledge. Right? If you just take a degree in what you want to do? Medicine, engineering, what do you want to do, sir? Law. Okay. So you have all this knowledge, but you don't practice as a lawyer. What's the use of this knowledge? It's all useless. Right? Make sense? So whatever you're learning, you have to put it into application. So Bhagavan Shri Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that we are not this body, we are the soul living in this body. And just like from when you were born, since the time of you're born, you are grown into a young boy, now adolescent, later on you become adult, and sometimes you'll become like Nana, right? You grow old, but Nana is still young, right? So Krishna explains, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam ja tatha dehanta dhirastatana muhyate. This is in Sanskrit. But just like the embodied soul, the soul inside is passing from from birth to childhood to boyhood to old age, then similarly at the time of death, the soul passes into another body. And the wise is not bewildered by such a change. Most of the time when you see someone passing with someone who is very close, you're going to start crying. But that person has just changed body, he's going to another body. Why? Because of his karma. Karma is very simple. The activities that you do, as you sow, so shall you reap. As simple as that. Basic physics. Right? To every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. You learn all that. And this is just knowledge. This is the application now. So if you understand that, will you do wrong? Will you commit sins in life, sir? No. Sometimes you feel that no one is looking at me. There's no one. Let us just do that sinful activity. No one is looking at me. No. If there is CCTV, no, I can't do this. I need to see. But Lord Shri Krishna has his own way of doing things. His CCTV is working 24 by 7. No one can escape. And all your accounts, all the activities are being recorded. You can't run away from it. That's why you have so many Devta Devis there around us. Everyone has got a specific role. As I mentioned, God is only one. Sometimes people are confused, they don't know. They ask, who is God? God is only one. Others are just helping in his activities. Just imagine you go to Hanuman and say, Hanuman, you're God. He's going to kick you or give his gada. He said, no, Bhagwan is Ram. I am his servant. Are you understanding? You go to Ganesha and say, Ganesha, you're God. He'll kick you. He'll say, no, I got a father. He's Lord Shiva. How can I be God? You go to Lord Shiva and say, you're God. He'll just close his eyes and get into meditation. Why? He's always meditating. On whom? On the Supreme. Now, there are lots of confusion in our religion, right, Mataji? We ask you the question, who is God? What do you say? You say everyone is God. We have so many gods. But then your Guru will tell you, no, God is only one. Others are just parts. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna shows his universal form. Chapter 11. In the universal form, you see all the Devta Devis there. You see Lord Shiva, you see Lord Brahma, you see Ganesha. All these Devta Devis are there in the body of Krishna. That's why he showed the universal form. Has anyone else shown the universal form? No. So this is what you have to learn. You can have faith, you can have someone who is Ishtadev, you have someone who is your favorite. No problem. Go to that deity and worship. So those who who want to study a lot, they want to gain lots of knowledge, they say, okay, I worship Saraswati Mata. She is in charge of education, right? She'll give you. Okay, then you say, Mother, you are God. She'll tell you, I've got a husband. Now those who are in search of wealth, money, they'll pray to Lakshmi Mata. And Lakshmi Mata will be, Mata, you are God, goddess. She said, no, I got Narayan, my husband. So these things have to be clear. Who is God? And when we mention, if you say others are God also, there is nothing wrong in that. It's okay. But then there's the concept of the Supreme God and gods who are there as servants. In Sanskrit we call them Sevak Bhagavan and Seviya Bhagavan. Sevak means the one who is serving. And Sevi means the one who we have to serve. So when you become a servant, when you're serving, we call, or what is the term given in Hindi? Das. हम लोग दास हैं. Right? But then, Shastra explains, we are jivas, living entities. Jive swarup hoi nitya Krishna das. We are eternally servants of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Not only us, everyone, irrespective of whom you're thinking of. The Prime Minister, the King, the Emperor, and all others. They are all serving Bhagavan Shri Krishna in some way or the other. At one point, Indra thought he is God. Indra is in charge of the rain. So he's supposed to be giving us rain. But he thought he is God. Then Bhagavan Shri Krishna taught him a good lesson. So he understood, I am sorry. Prabhu, aap Bhagavan hai. You are God. I am your servant. I hope you're understanding where I'm taking you. Right? So God is only one. But then sometimes I mentioned we have several preferences. He's my favorite and all that. So it's okay. Be with your favorite. But when you pray to them, ask them to give you or to give the direction to go. To whom? To the Supreme. We are going to celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, right? What are we going to ask Ganesh Ji for? He has Riddhi and Siddhi, right? You are going to ask for that. He'll give perfections, right? Siddhi is perfection. He'll give you. But what do you do with these siddhis? If you just need that for material gain, then you're losing the point. Lord Ganesha is supposed to be what? Removing all obstacles on our path, right? But on what path? On which path? You're just thinking about, some people just think, my world, my job, my family. So please, Lord Ganesha, remove all the obstacles, in my business and all. He'll do, no problem. But his main objective is to remove the obstacles on our path of devotion. If you want to progress in your spiritual path, this is what you have to ask him. Please remove all impediments on my bhakti path, the path of bhakti. Then he's going to help you with that. And then he's going to open the doors. Then you go ahead. If you ask for material things, he'll give you material. You ask for spiritual, he'll give you spiritual. I think this is clear. To anyone to whom you are going to pray, if you ask for material, you get material, that's it. And gone over, finish. But if you ask about Shuddh, means pure bhakti, then you see there will be some kind of change in your life. We have been praying for so many years and we have been asking for so many things. Now ask ourselves the question, you don't have to answer me. Are we asking material things or are we asking spiritual bhakti? Are we begging for bhakti? This is the question, this is the homework. If you're asking for material, then our game ends here only. We are just going to be in this world. If we want to go to the spiritual world, then there are lots of work to do, lots of sacrifice, and lots of knowledge to gain. Because without knowledge, you can't move ahead. Is that possible? To move ahead without knowledge? No. Yes, without wealth, you can move ahead. And bhakti. But wealth, we need to be in this material world. So if you have to live here, you need wealth, right? You need money, son. But that is not enough. Because that will be only till in this mundane world. but not beyond that. So we can keep on discussing, then it will not stop here. This is just one drop from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So we wish the boys all the best. And Mataji? Yeah, I know. I didn't know, so I just asked this question. I didn't want to embarrass you, but then wish you all the best, because there are lots of obstacles that we still need to, go and go beyond them. They're just stepping stones. Just take it as as a lesson in life, and you just go ahead. We need to go ahead, because all these relationships that we share is just temporary. So whatever is happening for the good, for the best also. So you just have to look for the best version of yourself. And this can be done only through bhakti. You can't do it otherwise. You can prosper materially, but then there will be some lacking. Yeah. So devotees, or those who are aspiring to follow the path of spirituality, you see there's always something extra they have. So you have to associate with this kind of people. That's what we call satsang. So that you can learn these things and apply in your life. So Mataji, any question? Or
When Shiva meditates
okay, so Lord Shiva meditates on Lord Sri Hari. And his favorite is Krishna. No, his favorite is Ram. Same personality. So Brahmaji, if you see all these personalities, they have a bhajan that we sing. Brahma bole Chaturmukhi Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Mahadeva Panchamukhi Ram Ram Hare Hare. That's why we see we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So you take any Vishnu Tattva. If you see even Bhagavan Vishnu, what he is doing? Lakshmi Mata is giving good massage, and the Lord is, just relaxing. This is God, right? Enjoying. Sometimes playing on his flute, enjoying. But others are always in meditation. So Mataji is asking a question on whom Lord Shiva is meditating. So he's meditating on his Ishtadev, who is Bhagavan Ram. But if you understand more in details, he is meditating on Sankarshan. Now, who is Sankarshan? All that we have to sit and discuss. It's not, you won't be able to understand it at one go, right? Bhagavan Shri Krishna has lots of expansions. There's one expansion we call it Chaturvyu, on which in this it expands in 4 forms. You have Vasudev, you have Sankarshan, you have Pradyumna, and you have Aniruddha. Each one has a very specific role to play in this entire creation. And we talk about Bhagavan Vishnu, we know only about one Bhagavan Vishnu. But Bhagavan Vishnu has 3 different forms. Mahavishnu, or we call as Karano Dakshai Vishnu. Then there's Garbho Dakshai Vishnu, and there's Shiro Dakshai Vishnu. So this is something that you have to sit and learn. But in brief, okay, Shivji meditates on Lord Sri Hari. And Sri Hari, Narayan, he's also in Yoga Nidra, right? On whom is he meditating? He's meditating on Lord Shiva. So this is where so many people are always confused. But who is God? So the Supreme Devotee is always meditating on the Supreme God, and the Supreme God is always meditating on the Supreme Devotee. Bhagavan Sri Vishnu simply mentions that he has no other business. What does he do? He is always meditating on his pure devotees, and his pure devotees are always meditating on him. He says, I dwell in the heart of my pure devotees, and the pure devotees are always in my heart. Try to understand that. That is the loving reciprocation between Bhagavan and his pure devotees. So if you want Bhagavan to remember you, you have to become a pure devotee. And you can. Don't think it's impossible. You can. But in that there is no sacrifice. Lots of tapasya. Because you can't do bhakti without tapasya. Sitting and listening to a lecture itself is a big tapasya, right? You could have slept by now. Hey, what is this man talking at this time at 10 o'clock in the night? So this is tapasya you're doing. So everything requires tapasya. Yeah, you're studying. Tapasya means sacrifice, right? If you don't sacrifice your time, you don't sit, you don't study, you won't achieve anything. So to achieve anything in life, you need to sacrifice. So sacrifice is for everyone. Even for devotees, those who are on the path of bhakti, there are lots of sacrifice. Right, Mataji? Any other question? No. So we're going to conclude with a bhajan for Bhagavan Nrsimhadev. Mataji was asking, right? So we have a beautiful mantra for Lord Nrsimhadev. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This is a very nice movie of Lord Nrsimhadev that is being. You have it in most of the theaters. Have you been, Mataji? Have you taken the boys? Take them. Mahavatar Nrsimha. Go and watch that movie. It's a must to watch. They're going to learn lots of things. Good. I don't know whether interested, but just go and see. Lots of things to learn. Okay? It's good investment.
The two actors is
Mahavatar Nrsimha. You have it in Triano, you have it in Tribeca, you have it in.
It's really well.
Yeah. It's being played. Yeah. I can send you all the. No, so that they can come, you can send it to the family where it's closer you can go. Om Jalantam Sarvato Narasimha Krishna Bhadram Shri Narasimha Jai Narasimha Jai Jai Narasimha Jai 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 आप सभी उपस्थित भक्तजनों की जय जयकार हरे कृष्ण. So thank you so much, Mataji, Sangeeta Mataji. You gave us the opportunity to engage our time in discussing about Bhagavan. Else we would have been maybe discussing about something else, wasting our time. Hare Krishna. So I hope we have not mentioned anything or said anything that has hurt you. Anyone? Okay, Purush, right? I hope this is giving you a boost to go ahead in life. Okay? And more than that, it's just the beginning, okay? You have a long way to go. You have to take care of your parents, your mom, right? You take care? You'll be a good son?
Yeah.
That's good. Hare Krishna. So, any question? Maybe anyone if has any question? Chandra ji, कुछ बोलेंगे?
Il y a beaucoup de questions, mais c'est moi qui fatiguée depuis une fête.
No, you don't worry about girlfriend. We are more worried about you. We are always eating, don't worry. The soul is eating now. L'autre occasion. Are we going to have?
Of course.
You know, you're sure you're going to have? You know what's going to happen the next moment? You don't know. Yes, it has to be done early. That's right. Bien fini.
Parce qu'il fait, c'est un bon marquant. Booster pour battre.
Ah, les raisons. Yeah, okay. So that's why. Voilà la raison qui veut nous venir au conseil. Okay. But then you'll be back to Canada, right? No.
England.
You're in England, right? Right. Okay. Good, exactly. Good.
Just outside London. This
Okay.
is the old one.
Yeah. So in London we have a temple in Soho, right?
Yes, I know, yeah.
You've been there?
I haven't yet.
Get connected.
Yeah.
If you really want to save yourself and you want to save the boys, because see, I don't have to give you more advice than that. You know how the culture is there. You have to struggle a lot. Right? So if you give them the proper weapons, they'll be able to cross this ocean. It's not easy when you have so much temptations, mostly for young, for the youngsters. So get connected, and I'm not telling you to go and become, a full-time devotee, but just get in touch with them. They'll help you. Take okay. You also get in touch. You'll see so many. See, my nephews are there. They're the same age, a bit elder to you. But then they're always, even with the mobiles and all that. You see, Suresh is mobile checking. And it's okay, that's part of your life, no problem. But then you have to keep yourself engaged. As we say, an idle mind is what? The devil's workshop, right? You heard of that? The devil's workshop? You want to give it room inside? No. If the demon is going to be inside, you'll never be able to, get that kind of liberation that we need. So and there are many things in life that you can't, say, I'm experiencing that, and then later on we'll see whether that turns good or whatever. You can't give chances. There are certain things that you can't come back. So you have to always make good choices. One and only. You can't go back. Understanding? It's very deep. And think about that, what I'm telling you. So the choice is yours. Okay? A, B, C, D, right? You always mentioned between B and D there's C, right? And the B is your birth and D is your death. Between that you have choices. You have to choose wisely.
Juicy.
If you just choose something, at random, then you're gone. No one can help you. Not even God can help you. He's telling you that was a choice. He's given you that free will. So you have to choose wisely. And wisdom doesn't come just like this. If you associate with good people, then only you'll be able to have that kind of thinking. We heard lots of, critical thinking, creative thinking, this thinking, that thinking. But where will you get that? You have to develop that. And that is developed when you associate with those who are thinking that way. They tell you, think out of the box. But how to do that? Who's going to help you think out of the box? You need someone to teach you. Right? So that's what you have to. So get in touch with the congregation then. And they'll try to help you. Because there are lots of programs for the youngsters. You feel you're giving them everything. You can't give everything. There's something they have to acquire by themselves, and some it will come through association. Whoever you associate with, you get those qualities. So with whom is associating in school, you don't know. It's for everyone. With whom you associate, we just ask you, give me the name of 5 persons with whom you associate. And these people you're going to develop those personalities in life. Take Mataji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your attention. Hare Krishna.